Let's just say you're elected November 4th to the U.S. Congress. What are the first three things you're going to do once you're elected? Like I said, what are you going to do when you become a member of the U.S. Congress?
My top three priorities: tax reform, which I believe is fundamental if we're going to get our economy growing again. We need to close all the special interest loopholes, drop the corporate tax rate so that we get more job creation, and also drop the tax rate for working families. Number two, entitlement reform. As I said before, we want to protect Social Security and Medicare. We want current beneficiaries to get what they've been promised and those that are nearing retirement. But for future generations, we need different options because we know that both these programs, Social Security and Medicare, are headed towards insolvency, and we need to reform them. So that's big because it's also a major driver of our debt, and I worry about what the debt means for young Americans. And thirdly, higher education reform. We pump billions of dollars into colleges and universities every year, and we don't hold these institutions accountable. A lot of these institutions have massive bureaucracies. They're not transparent with students. Young people in this country are graduating college with massive debt, and they're unable to find good jobs, and they can't get gainfully employed. We need to really rethink the way we invest in higher education and lead a reform movement in higher ed the way conservatives have done in K through 12 education, where we've made education about students and not about unions and every other special interest.
Have you thought of some of the committees you'd like to be part of or be on?
I'd love to be on Ways and Means. I know that's tough for a freshman, but I'm going to try. I'm going to ask for it because I'm passionate about tax reform. But I also like transportation and infrastructure. We have a lot of needs in this area. I actually think transportation infrastructure is one of the few things that the federal government actually does quite well. And education in the workforce, because I care so deeply about this higher education reform idea.
Now, the congressional work week has been criticized by many Americans as being lacking, if you would. Do you think that you guys should be up, if elected, do you think you should be up in Congress doing more up in Washington during the week instead of having a 3-day work week, maybe a 4 or 5-day work week, and not taking so many long recesses? What do you think?
Look, I think each member comes up with their own work week. Voting is obviously the most important part of being a member of Congress because that's what you get elected for. But being in your district and meeting with residents and visiting small businesses and taking care of issues that people have, maybe having with the government, that's an important part of it too. So I really think that this gimmick of talking about the congressional work week, we need to move past that and really look at each individual member of Congress and see what they're doing, if they're responding to their community, and obviously if they're showing up to vote in Washington, which is a major priority. But I think a lot of Americans probably feel better when Congress isn't in session. You know, they're probably safer.